Welcome back to your English class. In the series of the videos where I have been explaining you about adjectives and the types, today I'll be talking about degrees of comparison. Let's begin. Let us begin by understanding what do we mean by degrees of comparison. We already know that to describe, quantify, modify or identify nouns or pronouns, adjectives are used or reused. So adjectives have their own degrees called degrees of adjectives or degrees of comparison that compare one thing or person to another. Let us look at these examples here. Rama's mango is sweet. Hari's mango is sweeter than Rama's. Govind's mango is the sweetest of all. In the first sentence, the adjective sweet merely tells us that Rama's mango has the quality of sweetness, without saying how much of this quality it has. Whereas in the second sentence, the adjective sweeter tells us that Hari's mango compared with Ram's has more of the quality of sweetness. And in the third sentence, if you see, the adjective sweetest tells us that of all these mangoes, Govind's mango has the greatest amount or highest degree of the quality of sweetness. Thus, here we see that adjectives change their form from sweet to sweeter to sweetest. That is to show the comparison. And these are called the 3 degrees of comparison. The adjective sweet is said to be in the positive degree. The adjective sweeter is said to be in the comparative degree. And the adjective sweetest is said to be in the superlative degree. Here are some more examples of degrees of comparison. Young, younger, youngest. Dirty, dirtier, dirtiest. Small, smaller and smallest. Let us read about these degrees of comparison one by one. So the first one is the positive degree. The positive degree of an adjective is the simple form. It is used to denote the mere existence of some quality of what we speak about. It is used when no comparison is made. Let us look at some examples. This house is big. He is a tall student. This flower is beautiful. He is an intelligent boy. Here in these examples, you will see that each sentence mentioned talks about only one noun. Moving on to the comparative degree. The comparative degree of an adjective denotes a higher degree of quality than the positive. When we compare two persons or two things with each other, we use both the positive degree and the comparative degree. Let us understand this by looking at these examples. This house is bigger than that one. Here the word bigger is said to be in the comparative degree. And there is another way of comparing by using the positive degree, that is, this house is not as big as that one. So you will see that the term bigger is the comparative version of the term big, and both these sentences convey the same meaning. Superlative degree. The superlative degree of an adjective denotes the highest degree of the quality. When we compare more than two persons or things with one another, we use all the three: positive, comparative, as well as the superlative degree. Let us look at the examples and try to understand this. This is the biggest house in the street. Here the word biggest is said to be in the superlative degree. This house is bigger than any other house in the street. The word bigger is the comparative form, whereas no other house in this street is as big as this one. Here the word big is said to be in the positive degree. But we know that the term biggest is the superlative version of the term big, and all the three sentences here mean the same thing. Now let us try to see how the degrees comparative and superlative are formed. Most adjectives of one syllable and some of more than one form the comparative by adding er and the superlative by adding est to the positive. So the word sweet in the comparative degree will be sweeter and in the superlative will be sweetest. Similarly, let's just read through the other words here. Small, smaller, smallest. Tall, taller, tallest. Young, younger, youngest. Great, greater, and greatest. When the positive ends in E, comparative is formed by adding R and the superlative by adding st to the positive. So look at these words here. The word brave ends in E. Therefore, to make comparative degree, we will add R, and to make a superlative degree, we will add st. So, brave, braver, bravest. Similarly, let's just look at the other words. Fine, finer, finest. White, whiter, whitest. Wise, wiser, wisest. Large, larger, largest. When the positive ends in Y preceded by a consonant, Y is changed to I before adding ER and EST to the positive. In the first example here, the word happy. The word happy ends in Y, and it is also, the Y here also is preceded by a consonant P. Therefore, the Y will change to I, and then we will add ER and EST to form comparative and superlative degrees respectively. Let's look at the examples here. Happy, happier, happiest. Easy, easier, easiest. Heavy, heavier, heaviest. Merry, merrier, merriest. And wealthy, wealthier, wealthiest. When the positive is a word of one syllable and ends in a single consonant preceded by a short vowel, this consonant is doubled before adding ER and EST to the positive. So here we will see that the word red is just a one syllable word, but it ends in a single consonant, which is also preceded by a short vowel, that is E. So we will double the consonant, that is we will add another D before adding ER and EST to the positive. So this gives us red, redder, reddest. Big, bigger, biggest. Hot, hotter, hottest. Thin, thinner, thinnest. Fat, fatter, and fattest. Adjectives of more than two syllables, and many of those with two, form the comparative by using the adverb more with the positive and the superlative by using the adverb most with the positive. So in this case, beautiful is a word that has more than two syllables, and some of these also have many of those. So we will make the comparative degree by adding more and the superlative by adding most. So this gives us the words beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful. Similarly, difficult, more difficult, most difficult. Proper, more proper, most proper. Learned, more learned, most learned. Splendid, more splendid, and most splendid. There are also some irregular comparisons. Let's look at these examples. For the positive words good and well, comparative and superlative are better and best. Let's look at the other examples. Bad, evil, ill. For these words, the comparative is worse and the superlative is worst. Little, less, lesser, or least. Much, more, most, and this is when we are talking about quantity. Many, more, most. This is the case when we are talking about the number. Then late, later, latter, latest, last. Old, older, oldest, and we also say old, elder, eldest. Far, farther, farthest. You have seen that some of the positives have two comparatives and two superlatives. So what does that mean? Let's try to understand these. The word later, latter, latest, and last. The word later and latest refer to time, and latter and last refer to position of something. Let's look at the examples. He is later than I expected. The word later here is used for time, whereas the latter chapters are lacking in interest. The latter here means the position of the chapters. The last chapter is carelessly written. I have not heard the latest news. The next one here is elder, eldest, older, and oldest. The words elder and eldest are used only of persons and not of animals or things, and are now confined to members of the same family. Elder is not used with than following, whereas older and oldest are used of both persons and things. To understand this better, listen to the examples. John is my elder brother. Tom is my eldest son. He is older than his sister. Rama is the oldest boy in the class. This is the oldest temple in Calcutta. The next one, farther and further. Farther means more distant or advanced, whereas the word further means additional. For, further, and furthest. This is additional. Let's look at some examples. Calcutta is farther from the equator than Colombo. After this, he made no further remarks. Here the word further means additional. I must have a reply without further delay. This table will help you to understand how are comparatives and superlatives formed. You may have a look at these. That's all for now. I hope you have enjoyed watching today's lesson. Thank you so much for watching. I will come up with more interesting videos for you all. Until then, take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.